This is really exciting for me. I get to introduce a player where the word on fire is fully adequate and appropriate here. I get this young man was able to start his career very young. He was born in Canada, and he started at the age of 7, winning 12 and under tournaments. Has been through every aspect of the tennis journey. If you had kind of the hero's journey from dealing with adversity and a lot of injuries, he's a multifaceted player, winning huge doubles titles, including Wimbledon with Jack Sock, made a lot of inroads in the tennis world, in singles, had, broke into the top 50, played by injury. But really, his journey is something very special, and we'll be seeing a lot more. In fact, if we can cue up a bit of an interesting graphic, it can kind of show exactly how on fire he is, because sometimes the rankings don't actually do it justice. But if you guys see here, Vasek is actually on the rise. He, according to UTR, is really a top 15 player. Some huge wins. I mean, recently, names that you can see. We'll talk to him more about it, but this guy has been, beating top 10 players for a while now, and I think that coronavirus may have stopped him. So I'm going to get started and bring him out really quickly. Vasek Pospisil. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Quite the intro. Thanks for that, Kirk. Brothers wanted to be tennis pros, so I looked up to them so much that whatever they were doing, I wanted to be just like them, and I wanted to make my dad happy. And at the end of the day, sports, they're so competitive to really make it. And you got to ask yourself, well, do I really want to be a professional tennis player? Do I really want to be and if that really is your dream, then you have to also realize there's a lot of time and a lot of effort that goes in at a very young age, especially tennis, because it's, you have to develop all these skills, and there's so many intangibles that go into it. And I think homeschooling is a great avenue for giving yourself that flexibility to travel and to go to play events. Because one thing I also tell kids is don't be shy to compete and putting yourself in a position that that makes you feel uncomfortable, because that's where you can really develop and improve. And I know a lot of kids are afraid to play, kids that are, of their age, because they don't want to lose and it looks bad, and they try to avoid their age categories.
If you're going to give advice to a kid that said, look, they only have 2 or 3 things that they can do, what was your go-to drilling to improve your game?
Yeah, my drilling on the court, again, I worked with my dad for so many years, and he had his favorite drills, and they worked. They worked on me. Tennis is very physical, right? It's a physical sport. Court coverage is huge. So in terms of the tennis physical side, I know we did a lot of kind of feeding from the basket, side to side. We did a lot of these 9-ball drills where you're really trying to, where you're developing your speed. And then we did a lot of just full basket, moving side to side, just a lot of repetition. One of the reasons I think why right now I'm really having a resurgence in terms of my level of play is when I had my injury, and I was out for a long time. I was out for 8 months from the tour, and didn't hold the racket for 5 months. I had surgery last January. I really came back with a completely different perspective. And I think why that happened was I started to get really busy with things that I might do after my tennis career, kind of the business side of things. I actually started a startup company with 2 other people. And I really came back with a lot of confidence in myself as a person, and I felt more balanced.
How were you able to, it's a 2-part question, kind of make the jump and the transition from juniors to pros? It sounded like you had a pathway to pro tennis kind of early on. Some of the other guys, both Sam and tennis, were talking about college. It seems like the pro path was kind of what you'd set yourself on. Mentally and physically, how do you prepare for that and the transition?
Yeah, it's tough. I don't think, I'm not sure I was mentally and physically prepared. What I was ready to do was anything. to make it. You know, I was very, I mean, and still am, you know, really hardworking, and I just believed in, you know, just putting all of my energy into trying to be a professional tennis player. And so that was where the decision went to turning pro. Cause I figured, well, okay, if I go into college, you know, suddenly I'm not putting all of my energy and all of my focus into being a pro, but now it's you know, it's schooling and it's friends and it's very social, which is great. Those are all great, you know, things in life. But there's, you know, there's parties and there's all this stuff. And, you know, you do hear a lot of guys that were super talented and they go into college and then they don't really, they kind of disappear. So I think that was a little bit the decision of why I had gone pro.